Good evening, IE Sports Radio family, and welcome back to another episode of the Bullpen Bulletin here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. I'm Alden K. We got Mike Patt with me here today. For today's episode, regular season baseball is officially back. So much MLB to talk about as we get into the first week of the regular season. We're going to start it off with, people think the Yankees are cheating with their new torpedo bats. We're going to get into a big discussion about that and what we think about the Yankees using the new torpedo bats. We'll talk about Jurickson Profar getting tagged with an 80-game suspension, and he will not be eligible to play in the postseason if the Braves even make it at this point. It is what it is. But Jurickson Profar, 80-game suspension. We'll talk about that. We're also going to give a division review of our final division to talk about. We're going to talk about the AL West. So we're going out west to talk about the American League teams that play out there. And we'll give our thoughts on those teams and what they did for these first few games into the regular season. We'll talk a little bit more about the opening weekend, what we think the best games were for the opening week and the opening series. We'll talk about what series we think is the best for the upcoming week as we dive in a lot further into the MLB season. And we'll talk about some matchups that we think are the ones to look forward to. And, of course, we'll continue with our college baseball check-ins and college softball check-ins. We'll continue to talk about that as we get closer to the end of the softball season. And more than halfway done with the baseball season. So we're almost done with the college seasons. We'll keep on talking about it as we go. And, of course, we'll finish off with what we think of our Around the Diamond segment. Great to see MLB regular season baseball is back. When we come back, after we're done hearing a quick word from our sponsors, we'll get it started with the Yankees torpedo bats. So stay tuned. Don't go anywhere. You're listening to the Bullpen Bulletin on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
IE Sports Radio fans, this show is brought to you by Planet Jerky Premium Brisket Beef Jerky. Planet Jerky is the official jerky of the 2022 California League champion Lake Elsinore Storm, single-A affiliate of the San Diego Padres. This all-brisket jerky has gluten-free options, contains no MSG, no sodium nitrate, is low in sugar, and high in protein. Go to their website at planetjerky.net and follow them on Instagram at Planet Jerky. Planet Jerky, the jerky that's on a whole other planet.
Rise and shine. It's 4 a.m. The stars are still out. The sun is beneath the horizon, but it's time to punch in and go to work. The comfort of your warm-ups turns into the grinding out of your reps as the clinking and the clanking of the plates create a symphony of euphoria. There's no other feeling like it. Earn it, burn it, and take what's yours. IE Sports Radio has proudly partnered with Vital Apparel, a brand that not only fits great, but also promotes and donates to mental health research. Use our code IESR to get 15% off their comfortable and inspiring gym wear and help them on their amazing journey to support mental health. Go hard, take part in your iron therapy, and be strong. Because when your mental health is as strong as you are, there's no telling how far you'll go.
there, IE Sports Radio fans. Be sure to check out our sponsor, Seal the Deal Wax Seals by Cecilia B. You just finished your very own wedding or baby shower invitations and you're looking for that extra special touch? Maybe you just wrote a letter to a relative or a friend and you want to add to their smile when they receive it. Then seal the deal with Cecilia's handmade sealing wax stamps for your invitations, letters, and gifts. You bring the deal, we'll bring the seal. You can find them on Instagram at sealthedeal_wax stamps and on Facebook, Seal the Deal Wax Seals.
For the last 10 years, IE Sports Radio has been bringing you amazing content ranging from interviewing legendary athletes, coaches, and other authorized media personnel to building tailor-made shows dedicated to all major sports cities around the country. Make sure to follow us at IE Sports Radio on X, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, and YouTube to keep up with the latest in sports and with all of our shows. Also, make sure to check out our daily updated website at iesportsradio.com. At iesportsradio.com, you can see our daily show schedule and check out all of our show pages with personal bios to learn a little bit more about each of our awesome hosts. In addition to our show pages, you can catch the IE Sports Radio blog, Hall of Fame, Fans of the Month page, and our merchandise shop including t-shirts, tank tops, caps, long sleeves, hoodies, and more. For now over a decade here at IE Sports Radio, we've continued to be by the fans, for the fans, and we thank you all for your support and for making IE Sports Radio your direct feed for all that is sports.
And welcome back to the Bullpen Bulletin here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that sports. Once again, a big shout out to our sponsors, Planet Jerky Premium Brisket Beef Jerky. Jerky that's on a whole other planet. You guys can order on the website, planetjerky.net. Vital Apparel, make sure to use the IESR code to get 15% off of the merchandise. Take advantage of every discount you can get your hands on. Seal the Deal Wax Seals, of course, and shout out to IE Sports Radio itself. Also, shout out to our newest sponsor, Raw Nutrition Supplements. And make sure to check out the website, getrawnutrition.com, and use the promo code to get 10% off and get another discount. And follow us all on X. No Ricky today, but he'll be back next week. But you can follow him at Rickinator555. You can follow me at the AZTRL, and you can follow Mike at Let'sWine_IESR. And if you like the Bullpen Bulletin, go ahead and become a supporter. $5 a month. Links right there. But good to be back on another episode of the Bullpen Bulletin. So let's go ahead and get on into it. So obviously with the regular season being back and everything, you know, it's opening week, opening series, a lot of stuff were going on. But the Yankees were by far probably the best team for the opening series, scoring 36 runs in 3 games. And people seem to not like the new torpedo bats that they are using, and they seem to think that that is the reason why they are playing so good right now. So, Mike, let you go first on your thoughts of the Yankees' new torpedo bats. Do you think it's good for baseball, or are the Yankees just doing it because they're a good team?
There's a couple of things about the torpedo bats that have come to light. Obviously, there was the initial fanaticism, when the Yankees first had that first game where they dropped 20 runs and hit 9 home runs. But the torpedo pad is not brand new. This is something that has been tested in previous spring trainings, not only by the Yankees, but by other teams. They started to implement it more frequently and now have used it in the league. The league has approved them. They've signed off on them as legal by multiple sources, and the Yankees are not the only team that has been using them. In fact, Ellie De La Cruz of the Cincinnati Reds used one this past weekend, and of course, he proceeded to hit 2 home runs and drive in 7 RBI. So I think, in terms of the Yankees aspect of it, I think there was an initial craze because it was the Yankees, and everybody loves to hate the Yankees, including yours truly. I'm not even going to lie about that. But I think, the Yankees part, look, everybody in the league can use these bats. So that part, I'm not good. It is a little bit overblown. But in terms of, is it good for baseball? I guess I guess it depends on what you consider entertaining about baseball. I think there's, a lot of people who, they like a good classic pitcher's duel, or like a game to be 2-1 or 3-2 or 3-1 or whatever. But I mean, the bats, I think, at least early on, there's at least evidence to suggest that they lead to improved offensive performance. Uh, and I think that if you like offense, you like home runs, you like the excitement of a high scoring game, then yeah, I think it is good for baseball. So I think it all comes down to your preference. I think the league has continued to find ways to push more offense into the game, because I think, offense is probably what draws the crowds and draws the excitement. I mean, don't get me wrong, people get excited when you pitch a no-hitter, but people get more excited, I would argue, when you hit a game-winning home run in the bottom of the ninth to win, to end the series or whatever. So I don't see a problem with it. I think it's a continuing evolution of the game, and it's a game that, let's face it, has been both pro and anti-evolution for a long time. So it's always going to have mixed reviews. But hey, I mean, they're exciting. You can't not say that.
Yeah, I totally agree. The torpedo bats, it's not like the Yankees invented it and it's only for them or anything like that. Like, everybody can use it. And the thing is, not everybody on the Yankees are using the torpedo bats, and Aaron Judge is one of them. And we all saw what Aaron Judge did against Milwaukee in that opening series.
Yep,
So, and he's on
4 home
pace for
runs.
over 300 home runs right now. So, it Aaron Judge, I think he even elected he didn't want to use it. So, at the end of the day, and we saw a guy in Minnesota use the torpedo bats as well. And and I believe it was Trevor McGill from the Brewers who said, "Oh, it's the Yankees. They're going to get away with it. This and that, of course." But I feel like that phrase is kind of stupid. If just because it's the Yankees, they're going to get away with it. I feel like if the MLB let the Yankees get away with everything, we would probably see Alex Rodriguez in the Hall of Fame right now. So I think that is kind of a stupid point to make. I do think that the torpedo bats, they definitely, it's a different bat. People are still, getting used to it. They did test them a lot more, but at the end of the day, if the MLB says it's legal, then you can't really complain about it. So, and not everybody on the Yankees is using them too. And the fact that, I mean, I think it's just simply due to the fact that the Yankees showed up to play on offense, part of me, because, scoring 36 runs in 3 games is not something that we normally see in one series in general. But with the additions the Yankees made, this and that, I mean, they're going to be a good offense this year. So,
Right.
and but of course, because it is the Yankees, people are going to hate on them more for it. People are going to hate them a lot more. They're going to hate the torpedo bats a lot more because it is the Yankees. Like, people aren't hating on the Minnesota Twins because their catcher used it or anything like that. Uh, and people aren't hating on the guy from Cincinnati who used it. So it's like, at the end of the day, when big market teams do this and that, headlines are going to go good and bad their way. But torpedo bats, if they're legal, then let them use it. It's not like they're doing anything illegal or anything like that. So I think that the
Right.
torpedo bat thing is kind of uh, something that people are going to get used to eventually at some point, and eventually it's just going to die down at some point. But I did kind of find it funny that, you know, only when the Yankees do it, that's when people have an issue with it, apparently. But it is what it is. But let's go ahead and move on. So Jerickson Profar from the Atlanta Braves. Yeah, that was very disappointing. So he was caught with a PED suspension for 80 games, and the details are that he can still come back to play in the regular season, but he will not be eligible for the postseason, assuming the Atlanta Braves get to the playoffs. But right now, they're 0-5. I mean, nothing is going good in Atlanta right now. So, Mike, what's your 2 cents on this Profar suspension? Pretty bad for Atlanta.
Yeah, as if they didn't have enough problems going on right now after that opening series against the Padres there. Now, one of your key players, one of your main players that you brought in over the off season to help offset a couple of departures is now gone for half of the season and whatever potential playoff run you have. So, I mean, the hits just keep coming for Atlanta. I mean, what can you say about a PED suspension? Looking at the comments and looking at what Profar said, he didn't exactly come out and say, "Oh no, I'm innocent. This was wrong or this was a mistake." He basically said, "I'm so sorry for what I did." So, he knew what he was doing. It appears, and he got caught. And now he has to do the time, and now the Braves are stuck trying to replace what was supposed to be a pretty significant part of the lineup, and then losing him for whatever potential postseason run they could possibly have if they can claw back from 0-5, which is an uphill battle in itself. Um, yeah, I mean, I don't really know if there's much to say other than it sucks, but the team's going to have to find a way to rebound because they can't let him being gone from 80 games keep him down. Because after 5 games, okay, you're 0-5. Pick it back up, dust yourself off, keep going. But if you get to the 85 game mark and you're still down and out, that's going to be a problem, and that's a lot bigger hole to pick yourself up out of.
Yeah, that's why I love the MLB season. No matter how bad you are to start the year, you still have over 100 games left, and but this Profar suspension really, especially because they don't have Ronald Acuna coming back until the end of this month, maybe early May. So they're gonna have probably like 20 to 30 more games without him. So
Mhm.
yeah, that this is just another addition of what the issues that they're going through right now. Obviously, going up and especially with a rough schedule to start their year too. Like the Padres, we all knew they were going to be a good team. I did not see them sweeping Atlanta in this series whatsoever. I did not see that coming in a 4 game series, and they took on the Dodgers yesterday, and yeah, they lost 6-1. So yeah, 0-5 now. Now you got to deal with one of your best players going on the suspension list. It's just very tough way to start the season if you're the Braves, and it's just so funny. Two of the three of us picked them to go to the World Series, and it's already looking bad on our part right now. So, but hey, yeah, this suspension, especially signing him to a 1 year deal too, and you're not going to see him in the postseason if you can still make it. You're only going to see him for around 80 games in the regular season because he can't play in the
Yep.
postseason now because of this. So,
Right.
assuming Atlanta comes back in a tough division too, so you got to remember that in a very tough division. So they have to come back from all of that and not see Profar in the postseason if they get there. So this suspension is very tough for Atlanta, but at the end of the day, the crime, you got to do the time. Well, not crime, but you know the saying. So it is what it is.
Right.
But yeah, it just really sucks right now for Atlanta. But still plenty of baseball left for them to figure it out. But with that being said, last division, guys. Last division that we are going to predict. So normally we would pick a team and talk about them, but I feel like with just two of us, and because this is the last division, we'll just briefly talk about every team, make our predictions there, and then go on from there. So, Mike, AL West, what do you got for this division?
Yeah, so I think this was the division that I think we were all looking at it kind of, is this, are we excited to talk about this division? Who's really going to be on top? And honestly, looking at the numbers through the first weekend, not a single team in this division has a positive run differential. So, they're off to a pretty, at least in that regard, they're off to a mediocre start. But then in the same token, they're records aren't bad. They don't have, I mean, everybody has a win, which is more than you can say for a couple divisions. Actually, everybody has multiple wins. They're the only division right now that has every team has at least two wins. So, the division's off to a decent start, at least, independent of the run differential. But I haven't changed, nothing has happened that has changed my prediction. Nobody's gotten off to a wild, crazy start where I'm like, oh my goodness, that's, maybe I bumped these guys up. Despite their start, I still have the Angels finishing last. No, I'm not going to overreact to them taking 2 of 3 from the White Sox. Let's also note that they've scored 10 runs in 4 games. So that is something to be concerned about. But this team, they're very similar to St. Louis, who we just talked about. You know, how is this team fitting all of the pieces together? Are they going to get a full season from Mike Trout? Is somebody else finally going to step up and help Trout? We have to remember, in the time that Mike Trout has been here, they have brought in other players. They have had other talent around him, and he's been fully healthy, and they still haven't done anything. And then when he hasn't been healthy and the other players haven't shown up, then he's the team is non-existent. So I don't have a ton of faith in this team to be able to pull it together for an entire 162 games. I think they're one of those teams kind of like St. Louis. Maybe they have a little bit of momentum here and there, but at some point they'll start to fall back a little bit. They'll maybe trade a couple guys, probably not Trout, although that would be a fascinating thing to see at the trade deadline, to have Mike Trout available on the trading block. That would be wild. And then they'll tail off at the end. So I've got them at 5. Little bit of a surprise here. I'm gonna put Seattle at 4. I like the Mariners. I like their pitching, but it's the lack of upgrades they made in the offseason and just the general stagnation. Like, you'd think after the success they had last year, they would find a way to build upon it and, bring in new pieces and maybe exchange some of that starting pitching for some of the hitting that they lacked. But there weren't enough moves, and I didn't see enough changes for me to give them a vote of confidence. Plus, there is a team that is up and coming in this division that I do really like, that I am going to give a higher vote of confidence to, just because of the excitement factor, and that's the Athletics. Surprisingly, I have them 3rd. Like I said, I think they're up and coming. I think they've made some positive moves as a franchise despite the exit from Oakland. I think they kept their core pieces intact. And I think there's an actual purpose and a goal here as they continue to build this squad, that they're keeping their core young talent and they're building upon that. They signed that extension for Lawrence Butler in the offseason. That was a great move. They still have all those other bats, Brent Rooker, Shane Langeliers, the catcher, is very talented. And they just have a lot of excitement. Not that I'm saying that they're going to be a playoff team, but exciting teams, they can make noise in divisions that don't necessarily have the elite top teams, like say an NL East or an NL West. Number 2, I have Houston. This is a team that always manages. They're kind of like Milwaukee to me. They always manage to find ways to win. They always manage to find ways to be competitive. They still have really good pitching. They still have Jose Altuve, although very interested to see how that move to left field works for him. I saw a couple of highlights in spring training that were like, okay, I don't know how well this is going to work, but as long as his bat's in the offense, in the lineup, that's what you're going to need. And despite some of their losses, some of the players who left in the offseason, they did still go out and add Christian Walker, who, okay, is he like an all-pro, an all-star? Maybe not necessarily, but he's still a really strong bat. And he's still a really good hitter and a very good defensive first baseman as well. He's got that going for him. Plus, they have Isaac Paredes, really good corner infielder. Plus, they have a couple of young guys coming up too. So a lot to be positive about for the Astros. And then I've got the Rangers at number 1, and I actually have to give you credit, Alden, a little bit for this one, because you were talking about the Rangers a little bit off screen last week, and it made me look at them, and I did not realize this lineup was that good. My goodness, top to bottom, this is one of the better overall lineups I would say I've seen that we've reviewed. They could legitimately put 9 good hitters out in a lineup every week, every day, and then a pretty good mix of veteran pitchers who will give you good innings, and then really interesting young talent on this pitching staff as well. So I like them. I don't know. I don't know if I saw enough from them for me to suddenly change like my World Series prediction per se. But I do like this Rangers team. I do think they can win this division, and I think they could probably be a competent playoff team as well once we get to that stage. So that's my five. I've got 5-1 Angels, Mariners, Athletics, Astros, and Rangers.
Really good prediction. Pretty good prediction. Before I get to my picks, Taryn Rodriguez, our Set Point host and SoCal host. Yep, hope you're having a great show. And yep, no Ricky this week. He'll be back next week. Our big three of baseball will be back next week to talk more baseball. But yeah, this division is pretty. I guess it really somewhat is up for grabs in a way, depending on how teams start the year. Get involved in the trade deadline, which I'm sure the two Texas teams in here will probably uh, get involved in that because I think both of them are contenders this year. So yeah, at number 5, I do have the Angels. At number 5, I really don't. I mean, it's until they have made moves, like not best moves or anything like that, but they have brought in guys that could, give Angels fans, some hope, I guess, in a way, if they have any left. But if Kyle Hendricks is going to be your best pitcher, then I don't know about their pitching. And yeah, of course, Mike Trout's health is always a concern for me. It's just the players that they do bring in, they just never seem to work out. Uh, but we'll see how it is for the Angels. But I do have them at number 5 this year. Just to switch it up a little bit. See, last week Mike and I had the exact same prediction. To be honest, I kind of had the same prediction as Mike for this one as well. But I could see the Athletics still getting fourth. I do think that they have made some really good moves. I do think that they're an up and coming team right now. Bringing in Severino as a pitcher, guys, and extending Lawrence Butler was very important. They still have bats. Maybe they could get third place in this division, but with Seattle's pitching, I think that, pitching does win games a lot. Obviously, you need the offense and the base running, of course, but if you don't have the pitching and the defense, you're not really going to get anywhere. And I think that Seattle has that a little bit more than the Athletics do. So I'm going to put I was about to say Oakland. I can't even call them that anymore. So I'm going to put the A's at 4 for now, and I'll put Seattle at 3 just to kind of switch it up a little bit, and that is kind of a possibility I could see happening. I do agree with Mike on his top 2, though. I have Houston at number 2. See, Houston, they did bring in Christian Walker, but from a D-backs fan, his time in Arizona ended very poorly. So it the second half of last season, and it kind of feels like ever since the World Series when he completely turned into a ghost. His batting average dropped. He was still pretty good on defense. He's still the Golden Glover first baseman that we all knew and loved. But other than that, he wasn't as good of a cleanup hitter as he was anymore. It did not end well in Arizona, and that's why they did not re-sign him, and that's what led to the Josh Naylor trade. So despite that move, I do think it was a little bit of an overpay as well. And of course, they did lose Bregman. But then again, I feel like the Astros are always that kind of team where no matter who they lose, no matter what happens to them, they always find a guy who can step up and carry them as much as they need them to. And with Altuve still leading the team, I think that they will make the wild card this season. I do have them at second, though, as a wild card team for the AL. And then I have Texas winning the division all over again. If anybody knows the Bruce Bochy effect, he has one good year, and then a year, and then a good year. So I guess this year, so far, the Rangers are 4-2 to start the year. Nathan Eovaldi actually pitched a full game today, and he shut out the Cincinnati Reds. So I know it's the Reds, but 9 innings is 9 innings. We don't really see pitchers go the distance anymore like that. So that was a good game for Eovaldi. And I do like the players that the Rangers added, especially on the bats. They added Jock Peterson and Jake Berger, two power bats that can really improve their team. And I just really I think that the Rangers are just the better team in this division. Jacob deGrom, he pitched his first game against the Red Sox. He pitched 5 scoreless innings. But, so their pitchers look good so far. Of course, the bullpen's a little bit of a concern. They don't really have a closer as of right now. If they're going to, I feel like some of their fans do rely a little bit on Kumar, a little bit too much, but we'll see how they develop as we get farther into the season. But overall, I think Texas is the team to beat in this division. And I did say that I had them going to the World Series. And as of right now, they have proven that they can go back to the World Series. The American League, it's anybody's conference. I feel like in the National League, it's a little bit tougher to get through it, with Dodgers and Phillies and this and that. But I feel like in the AL, this conference is really up for grabs. So I do think that the Rangers have what it takes to get back to the World Series with Bruce Bochy leading the helm for another good year. So I got Rangers, Astros, Mariners, Athletics, and then the Angels finishing last in that division. But overall, very good division so far. Mike, so since Ricky is not here, we're going to throw Ricky's picks out there. I think Mike has Ricky's picks right in front of him, so I will hand it over to him. What has Ricky got for this division?
So you're a little different than me, and then Ricky's a little different than both of us. So he has Angels at the bottom. He didn't provide any explanation, so I'm just going to go 5-1 here. We've got Angels, Mariners, A's, Rangers, and Astros. So Ricky has a little bit more faith in Houston to be able to overcome their offseason losses and take the division back for the second year in a row. I believe they won it last year, right? So he's got the Astros going back to back here, beating out the Rangers.
Yeah, so some good prediction. I pretty much think it's between the two Texas teams for this division win, but it is what it is. This is a pretty good division. You got the Athletics who are on the rise. You got the Mariners who compete every year. Sorry, Taryn, it's just the Angels. That's unfortunately. I have no problem with the Angels, even though LA, LA and I have our differences, but the Angels, I can't hate the Angels. Like, they don't. If anything, I have sympathy for them at this point. It is what it is. But we're going to go into a quick break. When we come back, we're going to go over the opening week, and we're going to go through some games that we thought really stood out. We're going to talk about what series to watch for this upcoming week. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. You're listening to the Bullpen Bulletin here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
What does he got on the head?
Hey, yo, what's good, Georgia? It's your boy ACS, and if you love sports from the Peach State as much as I do, then Georgia Sports Central is your one-stop destination for down south sports, courtesy of IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. Are you a Yellow Jacket at heart, or do you bleed the red and black of the Bulldogs? Do you keep it true to Atlanta with Trae Young, Capella, and the boys? Do you rise up with the Dirty Birds on Sundays? Are you excited to see what the future holds for Michael Penix Jr., Bijan, and the rest of the Falcon squad? Do you live at 755 Battery Avenue? Do you rep for Albies, Acuna, and the rest of Braves country? If so, then let's get united every Wednesday for some Braves, Hawks, UGA, Georgia Tech, Atlanta Dream, Falcons, and more on Georgia Sports Central, only on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
Hockey fans, I'm Adam Kernan.
And I'm Zach Puplis.
Together, we are the newest version of Hockey Talk on IE Sports Radio, The Neutral Zone.
Zone.
We love hockey, but we also know it's not everyone's first sport. So we want to make this show as much for new fans as for the diehards.
Whether you can name all the Swedes on the 08 Red Wings Stanley Cup team, or if you can't tell if Varlamov is a goalie or the latest trendy vodka, we're here to help. With facts, figures, and outrageous fans, we bring you all the hard-hitting hockey news you can handle. while still keeping it fun and on the rails. Well, mostly.
So tune in every week as we go around the hockey world, from college to Canada, the minors and the majors, and everywhere in between.
So bring your cellies.
And your one-timers.
You wicked wristas.
And be sure to protect your five-hole.
Catch the Neutral Zone every week on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
We promise not to pick on the Arizona Coyotes every episode.
And welcome back to the Bullpen Bulletin here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. Alden K and Mike Patt here. We just covered up the AL West, and we covered some headlines from earlier in opening week. And make sure to check out everybody's shows. The Neutral Zone, who we just played, I'm pretty sure they're actually live right now. So if you got time to tune in for some hockey with Adam and Zach, make sure to check out their show as well. Check out everybody's show here. But with that being said, let's talk a little bit about opening week. So obviously regular season baseball is back. There were a lot of big games to start off the season. We talked about some pitching matchups that we were looking forward to last week for opening week. So maybe we could talk about those a little bit in depth. But yeah, overall, this was a pretty good opening week. Like I said, I'm glad baseball is back. I really missed it a lot. And Mike, what you got for the opening week recap? Any team, name it.
This was a great opening weekend for baseball. A lot of exciting happenings, a lot of chatter, obviously, with the torpedo bats. But beyond that, there was just really good baseball being played around the entire league, maybe with the exception of Atlanta. I think you might have to exclude the Braves from the good baseball conversation. But I'm going to give a shout out to, if I were to shout out one team, I'd have to go with the Miami Marlins. Had a 4-game opening series against the Pirates, and out of those 4 games, had 3 walk-off wins. All games at home, they walked off in 3 of them. And then they have had a 3-game series against the Mets here to start this week, and they've currently split that. So the Marlins up to 4-2 to start the season, a team that we all universally agreed was probably the worst team in the National League East, not only with a winning record, but a whole whopping 3.5 games above the Braves, who are currently in last. So great start for them. Great to see them pulling out wins in those close games. Yeah, so the Miami Marlins, a couple of players I want to shout out, selfishly shouting out Mackenzie Gore for the Nationals had arguably, you could easily argue, has had the best individual start of any pitcher so far this year. In the Nats opener against the Phillies, a good team with really good bats in that lineup, went 6 innings, 1 hit, 0 walks, and struck out 13, which is the Nats franchise record for opening day strikeouts, and also just giving up the 1 base runner in the 6 innings. Really impressive work. Only Nick Pivetta had a better single game whip for the Padres to start the season, and like nobody's thrown that many strikeouts in a single game yet as well. So absolutely phenomenal performance from him. That is very likely going to be completely overlooked in history because the bullpen then came in and completely blew the game and they lost in extra innings. But definitely shout out him. And then another shameless local plug, but the Baltimore Orioles offense, a couple of games that were stinkers, but they're averaging 6.4 runs a game, which is currently third to the Yankees. And interestingly enough, Alden, your Diamondbacks, averaging more runs per game right now than that. But only those 2 teams have out-hit them. Tyler O'Neill continued his MLB record 6th consecutive opening day with a home run. He's also batting .571 through 5 games, which is a pretty good start. Cedric Mullins was one of 2 players to have 10 RBI in the opening weekend, the other one being Aaron Judge. Adley Rushman has been hitting the ball well. He had 2 home runs on opening day. Jordan Westberg had 3 home runs on opening weekend. Shoot, even Jackson Holliday, who struggled last season, the youngster, 21 years old, he's batting .333 to start the season as well. So shout out to those. But yeah, the Marlins for sure definitely have to be the team, to me, that had the most eye-opening opening weekend.
Yeah, a lot of so much good for baseball, a lot of shock for baseball this opening week, and we're only about 5 games in at this point, 4 games in to yeah, first off, Taryn has a comment about the Padres. He said, Padres can contend in the NL. They came close to knocking off the Dodgers last season, and heaven knows what could have happened after that. I did say that the Padres, they really could, was actually the first team I brought up. I think Taryn read my mind just now. But yeah, I want to shout out the Padres first. I did not think that they would sweep the Braves to start off the season. You know, a team that was getting healthier again, minus Acuna, obviously, but they knocked around the Braves like they weren't anything. So I did say that I thought the Padres would take a little bit of a step back because of the players that they lost, but Nick Pivetta, who they picked up for the 5th-man spot, he had a really good game against Atlanta. I believe they also won. It doesn't come to my mind on who they're playing right now, but I think they won the first game of that series. So I think they're 5-0 at this point. So a really good start for the Padres this season. You know what? I'm going to show some love to the White Sox for a split second. Okay, I know we're not going to overreact. They did beat the Angels, but they were at some point number 1 in team ERA. I feel like, hey, anything that we can give the White Sox credit for this year, I think we should, especially because their fans don't expect much, and for a good reason. So, White Sox, it was a good opening week. Let's see if you can do something, I guess. But hey, and I guess I'll shout out the 2 players who were named Player of the Week, which is actually ironic. They're currently going up against each other right now. Aaron Judge and Eugenio Suarez. Which, by the way, the Diamondbacks currently lead the Yankees 7-4 right now. They scored 5 runs in the 8th inning, and Geno Suarez hit a grand slam to take the lead. So go D-backs. Geno Smith, you're doing your God. Why do I keep saying Smith? Suarez, you're doing your thing. He already has over 10 RBIs, and we're only 5 games in at this point. Big shout out, Geno Suarez. You're carrying the D-backs right now. I do want to say the D-backs have been a little bit of a disappointment as well so far on their defensive part. They've committed 7 errors already, and we're only 5 games in.
Ouch.
So they lead
Yeah,
the
that's
MLB
not
in
how you wanna
errors to start the
defensively.
season. Yeah, definitely not, especially because they were coming off of a year where they committed the least amount of errors. Last year, they had the best defense. This year, they already have the most. So, not a good look for a team who had the best offense and defense last year, but it is what it is. Baseball is kind of a weird sport that way, too. But our Beantown Sports Pound host, Brian, tuning in. How are you doing? And yeah, shout out to I know the Red Sox lost to the Rangers, but Garrett Crochet looked pretty good in the first game of the year. It really just depends on how if Boston's bats can really come to life. And I do want to point out that Rafael Devers has had a terrible start to this season. 0 for 19, or at least last time I checked. I'm not sure if Boston had a game today, but 0 for 19 to start off the season with 15 strikeouts. 15 strikeouts and 19 at bats to start the season. That is, especially with the drama that went down between him, Alex Cora, and all that, that is not a good look to start the season. And that just does not really give you a good look. You're supposed to be playing designated hitter this year. You're supposed to be changing the scoreboard. You're supposed to be putting balls in gaps and in play. And it just seems like Devers swings at everything, and he cannot get out of his own way right now. So while Brian is here, I wanted to bring that up. And he says, tomorrow, since the Sox opener at home is this Friday, it will be his first ever baseball main event. Yeah. Yeah, I think I just brought him up for you. So, but yeah, Boston, I really do hope that they turn it around. I really gave Boston a lot of credit this offseason, and I picked them to finish second in the East. So I hope they don't let me down on that pick. But Yeah, other than that, this has been a good week of baseball. I did like how you brought up the Marlins, 4-2 to start this season. They do have a bunch of young players, and they have Sandy Alcantara leading on their pitching rotation. Overall, I mean, it is only 6 games for the Marlins, so maybe they're just living in a different world right now, and it'll come back to them at some point. But other than that, we've had a lot of teams that we don't expect look pretty good so far. So, and even the San Francisco Giants too. I believe they are currently 3-2 at this point right now. So they did beat the Reds, and they did crush Houston the other day as well. So we'll see how the Giants do. Obviously, with Bob Melvin, I think he's a pretty good manager, and he's not really a guy that people give credit to. So yeah, the NL West in general is they're just doing their thing right now. Toughest division so far, in my opinion. Dodgers remain undefeated, which I mean they started 6-0 this year, which is the first time since they since they won their World Series in '81. So, yeah, the Dodgers living up to expectations so far. But other than that, as we get further into the MLB season, Mike, what would you say is a series to watch for this upcoming week?
I'm seeing a big series coming up early on against two of the top teams and two of the teams off to the best starts in the National League. We got Dodgers and Phillies this weekend. That's going to be must-watch TV in Philadelphia. It looks like I'm interested to see how the Dodgers handle Roki Sasaki. He did looked really rough in his start this past weekend. Also kind of looked, I don't know, it looked to me like the lights were starting to get to him a little bit there in the big stage, playing in LA there. So I'm curious to see how they handle that situation. But at minimum, they've got Yamamoto and Glass now queued up for that series. And the Phillies, I guess somehow the schedule, the way it worked out, no Zach Wheeler. They do have Luzardo, Nola, and Chris Sanchez on the mound, which I mean that's still not a bad trio to be thrown out there against the Dodgers. But that's definitely a series that I am looking forward to. That's the main one that stood out. A lot of kind of mishmash series, some inner not divisional rival series. Chicago White Sox and Detroit Tigers might be an interesting opening one, given how the White Sox have started. And the Tigers, a team that we all thought had aspirations for the division. So, can the Tigers kind of get that early jump on the White Sox to give themselves a leg up there? So, that should be a good one. And then always got actually, interestingly enough, the Diamondbacks and the Nationals going at it this upcoming weekend. Look at it this way, Alden. As long as Arizona can keep it close once you get to the bullpen, I think they'll be able to get some comeback victories here against this Nats bullpen, which once again this evening has given up some runs to cost themselves a lead.
Yeah, definitely. It's kind of the D-backs in general. It's only been 5 games, but they've already had comebacks in 2 of them. They scored 8 runs against the Cubs in the 4th game of the series, and they scored 5 runs tonight against the Yankees, which Brian just brought up. The D-backs are doing great tonight. Gino Suarez is doing great tonight. Other than that, uh, it, it other than that, Zach Gallen has looked terrible. I know it's only been 1 game, but Zach Gallen looked terrible in the first game of the year. Corbin Burns, even though he didn't play that much today, he looked good for, I guess, considering what the Yankees are, I guess. But as far as series to bring up, I want to talk about the Padres and the Cubs. I think that is a very good series to look at. They're going to have Imanaga and Justin Steele and Jameson Talon for that series as well. So some pitching matchups for the Padres and the Cubs. I think that's going to be very important. It's definitely a test for the the Padres batting lineup, who has looked very, very good so far. So I think Padres and Cubs is definitely the series to watch. Obviously, we look at the Dodgers and the Phillies. Obviously, two great teams, probably two of the best teams in the NL. That's going to be a great series to watch. But I'm surprised you didn't bring this up, or maybe you did, but I just kind of missed it. The Orioles and the Royals. I think that'll be a good series as well. That is a playoff rematch. Obviously, no Corbin Burns this time, but a playoff rematch of the Orioles and the Royals. So I think that'll be a pretty good series as well. Two teams where It's all about the offense for them. That's really going to determine, and of course, the Orioles pitching. We'll see what they can do without Burns and this and that. But yeah, definitely a lot of good series that we can look at here for this upcoming week. There, we're only 5 games in, and baseball is already looking really good right now. This is a really good season so far, and a lot of great series to watch in the upcoming future. But for the MLB, we're going to take our second break. When we come back, we're going to tune in again with our college check-ins with baseball and softball. We'll give our teams and our thoughts and upcoming matchups that we think is interesting to take a look at. So don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. You're listening to the Bullpen Bulletin here on Ice Sports Radio.
What's up, everybody? It's your boy, Big Mike from Indie Sports Nation. Come hang out with me each and every Friday, 5 p.m. to 6 p.m. Eastern Time, where we talk things Indiana sports. We talk Colts, Pacers, Fever, Indy Ignite, and we dive into the college scene as well. Boilermakers, Hoosiers, Irish, Bulldogs, and every school in between. And we don't stop there. We'll sprinkle in some NHRA and cover the IndyCar series. From the turf to the hardwood to the track, we got you covered. Come hang out with your boy, Big Mike, each and every Friday, 5 p.m. to 6 p.m. Eastern Time. Indie Sports Nation, right here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
What's up, Wisconsin sports fans? I'm Dan, diehard Baholic, host of the Wisconsin Whistle. Check us out every Wednesday at 6 p.m. Central, 7 Eastern, 4 Pacific. We're talking Green Bay Packers, Milwaukee Brewers, Milwaukee Bucks, Marquette basketball, Wisconsin football and basketball, and all Wisconsin sports. Don't miss us each week, Wednesdays, 6 p.m. on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
And welcome back to the Bullpen Bulletin here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that sports. Alden K, Mike Patt. We just covered up the MLB opening week and some series to take a look at for the upcoming week. Just glad that MLB baseball regular season is back. And the D-backs beat the Yankees 7-4, so I wanted to mention that. We gave the Yankees their first L. That felt really good, by the way. Very good. So we'll see how they do against the Yankees. 2 more games. But let's tune into the college days. So, Mike, college baseball, who do you got to update for us?
Looking at the rankings, man, this is still SEC domination on both sides. I think 8 of the top 10 teams right now are SEC schools. I cannot give a ton of love to any of our DMV teams. As I talked this past weekend on Let's Whine About DMV Sports, none of them are really doing that great. Virginia has officially been bounced completely from the rankings altogether. I believe we discussed that last week. So I'm going to go with a team that, honestly, their name caught my eye when I saw them on the rankings. I'm going to go with Troy baseball, coming off a week where they won 3 straight. They took 2 of 3 from Marshall. They're a team that has been slowly climbing the rankings. They currently sit at 21-8. and just playing really good baseball, really consistent baseball. You look at, their season, they're constantly winning 3 out of 4, 4 out of 5. They're not going on these ridiculously long, like 10, 11 game winning streaks, but they're playing really solid baseball over good stretches of time. So yeah, definitely shout them out for sure. They're led by Steven Meyer, who has a 362 batting average and a 504 on base percentage, which I mean that's getting towards video game numbers of ridiculousness right there. He leads them in the batting category. Their pitching overall, not the greatest. They actually have a team ERA of 5.13, which is not great. But they're finding ways to win games and get the job done. And it's mostly through their offense. So shout out to Troy. Keep playing good baseball, and hopefully, maybe they can make some noise come College World Series time.
Definitely shout out to them. I'm gonna stay local. I know I'm gonna be boring, guys, but I gotta shout out Arizona teams. They've been doing their thing in baseball lately. So especially the ASU and the U of A teams. So for ASU, they recently swept Utah. They dropped a lot of runs in that series. They scored over almost 30 runs in that 3-game series. So the bats really came to life in that series. Pitching it was kind of iffy in that series, but the offense really set them up to succeed for that series. So good win in the Big 12. It's always good beating Big 12 teams. So they were able to sweep Utah. I wanted to point out their upcoming schedule. They take on one game against Cal State Fullerton, which is actually today. The game started a half hour ago, so I'll have to go back and look at it. But right now, they're taking on Cal State Fullerton, so we'll see how that goes. And then April 4th, they have a 3-game series against, you guessed it, their Tucson rival, U of A. So every time ASU and U of A plays, I'm going to mention it on here on any one of my shows. That's just the neighborly rivalry. As an ASU fan, I hate Tucson and Tucson hates me. So that's just how it is in the college days. But other than that, I really do like the overall perspective from that. ASU is currently 19-9 in baseball right now. Their 10 games above 500. They've been on a win streak lately, so we will see how they continue, how they end the season. They take on a lot of Big 12 rivalries before the end of their season, so definitely keeping tabs with them. But for U of A, they've had the better season, barely, but they've had the better season. They're 20-7 at this point. They take on the other Arizona team, Grand Canyon University, for one game. And then that's when they take on ASU in the 3-game series I just mentioned. U of A is coming off of a series loss against Baylor. They lost the first two. They avoided the sweep in the 3rd game, which was actually the other day. But yeah, today, which actually the game started an hour ago. So currently U of A and GCU are playing each other in baseball right now. I wasn't able to look at the score, but I don't know. ESPN was being weird, but it is what it is. But yeah, U of A, they're taking on Oklahoma State coming up pretty soon. Which Oklahoma State is a team that gives U of A some pretty tough battles in these recent years. So definitely gonna keep eyes on that. And then they take on GCU again. Overall, I do like what I'm seeing from Arizona baseball right now, though. We'll see how they end their season. Both teams are above 500. They almost have identical records, and they're going up against each other in a few days. So definitely going to be something to stay tuned for. But softball, Mike, what do you got for us?
I am going to stick this one local because we do have a lot of good softball being played in the DMV, and I'm specifically going to shout out Virginia Tech, who this past week swept 16th ranked Stanford in 3 very good baseball games. They were all 1-run baseball games. This team has actually won 9 games in a row. They swept Louisville a couple weeks ago. They took 2 of 3 from Virginia, another DMV school that's playing great baseball right now. They're just outside of the top 25. Virginia is, and they're playing hot softball at the right time. They have number 24 ranked Liberty, another DMV school, coming up this week, and then a couple of not an impossible schedule the rest of the way. None of their further opponents, except for Florida State, I believe, are ranked. So they've got a key matchup coming up against Florida State to end the season. Actually, that's their last series getting there. But Virginia Tech playing really good softball. They're another team that's creeping up the rankings, and we've been talking all season long, you, me, and Ricky, about the SEC and softball and how they've just been absolutely dominant. But when you look at the rankings, yes, the SEC is still 6 of the top 7, but then you're starting to see some other teams creep their names in. It's part of it's probably a product of the SEC starting to beat up on each other, and some of the teams that are starting to lose some more games starting to get bumped down the rankings. But you look at UCLA has crept their way up to 8th. You've got Florida State is 10, Virginia Tech 11, U of A, Arizona, they're in there at 12. So a lot more of these non-SEC schools are starting to push their way up the rankings and starting to get some momentum as we are about a month away from beginning the Women's College World Series. It's not out of the realm of possibility that some of these teams might be able to challenge some of these juggernauts. I mean, somebody at some point, actually, Oklahoma has lost a whopping 3 games. So somebody at some point has to end Oklahoma's reign over women's softball.
Yeah, it seems like it's finally going to come, but we don't know. Maybe Oklahoma will still get it together at some point. You know, every team goes through a rough stretch at some point, but, you know, we'll see how it goes. But I'm staying local for baseball and softball. I promise I will switch it up next week, guys, but I'm going to stay local for this episode. Since I don't really have time to talk about them on AZ Sports Zone a lot with all the other teams I talk about. But yeah, so for ASU, so they're currently softball's doing better than baseball actually, which for once that's actually kind of crazy. They're 24-12 at this point. They did lose a series to Iowa State, and they did lose a 3-game series to U of A. They lost the first 2, won the last one to avoid the sweep. But tomorrow, this is a game to watch. ASU softball is taking on Oklahoma State, who's ranked 18th. So it's a good test for them if they actually want any chance of becoming a ranked team. So, you know, do it while you can. We don't have that many games left, but you know, they eventually do play the Kansas Jayhawks as well. So overall, ASU softball though, you know, 12 games above 500 at this point. Really, it's all about trying to make a lasting impression and really try to make it work right now, because, you know, there's a lot of teams in softball who, you know, obviously, like, there's a lot of teams that, you know, are going to be ranked. I think you mentioned Liberty had like a lot of wins or something like that, and they were still ranked in the 20s. So, yeah, it's really hard to get a rank in softball, especially when you have 12 losses. But we'll see how ASU finishes. And then for U of A, on the other hand, though, they're 31-6. So they keep on doing their thing. They stay ranked, and they're going to stay ranked. They have a 3-game series against Oklahoma State. So that is something, you know, Big 12 matchup, 2 teams who are ranked pretty big here for softball. That's a series to look at. They also play Kansas as well. They play Houston at the end of the year too, which is a Big 12 matchup that, you know, I want to at least get a look at as well. But overall, both Arizona teams in baseball and softball, they're doing their thing right now. Like what I'm seeing from them. But you know, we'll see how they end their season. We're very close to the end of it, so see how it is. Uh, let's go into our Around the Diamond segment. So before we wrap up this episode, let's give our thoughts on anything baseball, MLB, college, this and that. Mike, what do you got for Around the Diamond?
So I'm going to a team that we didn't really talk about, and you know, there's a little bit of a reason we didn't talk about them, because they're off to a really poor start, and that is the Pittsburgh Pirates, who actually just lost to the Rays 7-0 today. They have dropped to 1-5 overall. They are not off to a great start to the season. But there is one stat that they are doing very well in, that really caught my eye, and I had to do a double take and recheck the stats to make sure that it was correct. But so far, through 6 games, the Pittsburgh Pirates lead the Major League Baseball in steals, stolen bases, and in fact, they do so by a wide margin. They have 17 steals. No other team has more than 10. So the Pirates out here, O'Neal Cruz, he leads all of baseball. He has 5. Isaiah Kinner-Falefa, he is second in baseball with 4. So that regardless of how they're performing in other aspects, the Pirates are at least out here running around and swiping bags, and at least you can see the effort. They're doing everything they can to win. It's just not showing up in a win column, but at least despite the rough start to the season, the Pirates do at least have that going for them, that they're at least putting their speed to good use on the base pass.
Yeah, I said this when we went over the Central Division. I was like, okay, I mean, yeah, I'll put St. Louis at last, which I'm actually it's only been 5 games, but the St. Louis Cardinals have had a pretty good start to this season. Uh, I know that they did sweep the Twins, which I mean, it is what it is. The Twins I'm pretty sure they still haven't won a game yet either. We got the Braves who are winless, the Twins, and I believe Milwaukee is still winless too. I think those are the only 3 that are left. So,
Yep.
all these teams that we thought would be good or bad, I guess, uh, the St. Louis Cardinals have had a pretty good start to this season, so I wanted to give them credit for that. It's funny. I think all 3 of us picked them to finish last in that division, and it's only been 5 games. I'm aware of that, but it's kind of funny that the Pirates might be the team as of right now that is going to be in that category. I said about the Pirates, Paul Skeens is literally he's not going to do everything for you. You got to build around him. And yeah, they have the base running, but they're clearly not bringing the runners home when they're in scoring position. So, it's I think Andrew McCutchen leads them right now in RBIs. So if year 17 or whatever year he's in, Andrew McCutchen is going to lead you in RBIs. It's somebody has to step up on that team as offensively. So far, we have not seen that at all. So yeah, rough for the Pirates.
I'll tell you, it's even worse. It's not Andrew McCutchen leading them in RBIs. I just checked this. It's Adam Frazier is
Wow.
leading them in RBIs with 3.
Wow. So yeah, offensively they're not there, which is actually what I predicted when we went over the Central Division
Mm-hmm.
last. Offensively, okay, you have the pitching, you don't really have a closer. So where's the offense at? No one is stepping up right now for the Pirates. So it is what it is. But obviously I wanted to give credit to Aaron Judge, who is a guy who I want to give credit to him because people are not giving credit to him. They're saying the torpedo bats or what's getting him home runs, this and that. What people don't know is Aaron Judge is not using the torpedo bats. He is still Aaron Judge, well, at least regular season Aaron Judge, as far as we know. But I wanted to give him credit. He, I'm pretty sure the D-backs kept him hitless today, so credit to the D-backs pitching today. And Gino Suarez, another shout out, grand slam to win the game tonight. He's the league leader in RBIs right now after that grand slam, I believe. I'm pretty sure Mike can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think after that grand slam, he is the leader in RBIs. So, and across the National League, I believe at least. But overall, yep. Yeah. So
Tied with
overall,
Judge.
some pretty good offense from the D-backs this year. I really hope that they don't do this every single game where they're down by a lot, and then come the 7th, 8th, and 9th inning, that's when they're finally going to remember how to hit a baseball out of the ballpark. But Corbin Carroll hit his first home run today. Ketel Marte looked like crap today, but it's only one game. It's only one bad game. And then John Taylor looked pretty bad today, giving up that error that almost costed them the game today. But other than that, I mean, baseball got his back. It's looking really good. Uh, I did mention Rafael Devers already, which I'm going to pay attention to Boston a lot more while I'm talking about in our Around the Diamond segment. I'm going to pay attention to how not just Rafael Devers, but how the other guys on the Red Sox play, because I feel like that drama really took a little bit of a toll on them to start the season. Boston has not had the start that I predicted, at least, or that the start that I thought they were going to have. They did lose the series against the Rangers, so. But then again, Texas, I have them back to the World Series this year, so they're the Rangers. But then again, all these predictions that we make, everything that we say, it's only 5 games into the season, so
Yep.
still plenty of baseball left. We will talk about it a lot more as we get further into the season. But anyways, guys, that is going to do it for the Bullpen Bulletin. Episode 7 here on iSports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Once again, big shout out to all of our sponsors. Make sure to follow all 3 of us on X. You can find the Bullpen Bulletin at BP_IESR. You can follow Ricky at Rickinator555. You can follow me at BAZTRL, and you can follow Mike at Let'sWine_IESR. Once again, if you guys love the show and if you enjoyed this episode, become a supporter. $5 a month. The link is right there on Spreaker. So if you're interested and if you enjoy the show, we would greatly appreciate your support. Thank you guys so much for tuning into episode 7, though, of the Bullpen Bulletin. We covered a lot for opening week. We'll see how the Torpedo Bats continue to rig over other teams, I guess, as we get further into the Yankees season. But they did lose today, so maybe it's not. Maybe it's a little bit of an overreaction. We'll see. Profar suspension, we'll see how much that hurts Atlanta, but Atlanta is really not having a very good start this season. We'll see how it is. Of course, we predicted the AL West today. We'll see how that goes. Once again, if you guys missed our predictions, you guys can look over on the X account of the Bullpen Bulletin, and you guys can take a look at our predictions there and see what you guys think. Give your predictions if you like. And of course, we covered up opening weekend, great week of baseball to start off the season. A bunch of teams that may see each other in the future going up against each other, and we saw a lot of upcoming series that we think would be very entertaining to watch. Only 5 games. It's only been 5 games. We still got plenty of baseball left and a bunch of good matchups that are coming up in the future. So make sure to stay tuned for that. And of course, with college, we will see how college football or college baseball and softball end as we get closer to the end, and as we get closer into the tournaments, we will see who is the real deal at the end of the regular season. But very happy to see MLB baseball is back again. A bunch of good matchups, a bunch of players who are looking really good, a bunch of surprising players to start off the season. We have teams that aren't living up to expectations. We'll see how teams like the Brewers, Braves, Tigers, and the Pirates, this and that. We'll see if they can bounce back. But overall, glad that MLB baseball is back. Once again, thank you so much for listening to the Bullpen Bulletin here on iSports Radio, your direct feed for all that sports. I'm Alden K. Mike Patt joined us today. Ricky will be back next week. You will see all 3 of us next week, so come back next Tuesday. Go live every Tuesday at 6 p.m. Mountain Standard Time. Thank you guys so much for tuning in, and we'll see you next Tuesday. Have a good one.